Here we go. Not yet, not yet. Let me see what's happening here.
Get my chat up.
Hang on, guys. Okay, I do not see us live yet.
We are live.
I don't know if we're live or not, so I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, we're figuring
Hang
this
on, hang on a
technology
minute.
out here, guys. Jerry, I got live on here on my screen.
Okay, we are. Hang on. Just want to make sure I get sound.
Working at the kinks here, guys.
All right. Check 1,
Live.
2.
Okay.
So,
All right,
Brian.
we are live. Hi,
ahead.
everybody. Welcome to our simulcast broadcast live stream. I can take these off now.
There, hopefully it's working.
And
Like a
I
real
just wanted
sound
to make
guy.
sure we could hear. And we have got 2 live streams happening at the same time. Right now, I'm looking at Callie Kim's
Right.
live stream, and I'm going to move over to the right. And now we've got Gary's live
guys.
stream going on over here. So welcome to everybody. We're going to try and follow along with the chats, etc. And also, this is Gary's first live stream ever. So we are breaking this guy in. He's going to start experimenting with live streams, right?
I'm going to learn, and I think we'll be doing this once a month on the Rusted Garden.
All right,
be fun.
So we've got 2 cameras going on. We've got 2 chats happening at the same time. We are in Maryland. We're totally excited about this. And we are going to begin here. Gary, do you see your live chats coming through?
I see the live chats coming through, and what we're working with is I'm seeing Kim's feed, I think, on my channel, so hopefully we're on 2 channels. But I
think
do have
we are.
questions coming through.
Yeah.
I think we're good. I didn't bring my glasses, so I can't read the question coming up there. But I just want to welcome everybody for bearing with me and coming to the first live stream.
Well, this is definitely a lot of fun, and a lot of you guys that come back here week after week, and I really appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching on both channels, if you have 2 different devices, let us know. It'd be really fun to see, to make sure all the chats are coming through and all of that. This is really just a great time here.
All right, the first thing we're going to try and do is we're going to just see who's out there. And Gary and Kim are going to say hi back to you. They're going to kind of, toggle back and forth. So Gary, I don't know if you can see your chat, but let's all see who's here right now, what country, where you from, and we'll give you a little shout out and say hi back here.
Yeah, and
Cool.
the country's great, because one of the things I love about this is it's global. Gardening's global, and we're meeting people from around the globe.
Absolutely. So let's see, Sandra's here. Hey, Sandra, how you doing? Terry here from Phoenix, hot in Phoenix. Let's see, West Coast Gardener up in Canada, as I recall.
I'm just, yeah.
And let's see, Garden of Enders. Lots of people from Phoenix, Wisconsin. Hi, Kim and Gary and Camera Guy.
Yep. Logan from Alabama.
Nice.
It's going through really quickly. This is funny. Jennifer Seawright, hello from Illinois. We got Augustine, Florida. Cindy Allison, hello. And I definitely should have brought my glasses. I apologize for that.
I'm seeing on your screen from Arkansas, Southern
you.
Middle Tennessee, North Carolina, Nevada, Panhandle of Florida, hot and humid, which is where our moderator, not the Panhandle, but our moderator, Christy, Everything Sunflowers and More, is also here moderating for us.
And I do need a moderator. If anybody is interested in moderating for the Rusted Garden, email me. I'll see what we can do.
Oh, that's great.
All right.
And speaking of humidity,
Yes.
We're
this
not
is
used to
humid.
this.
The
Yeah.
Californians, we're melting out here. I think I'm going to lose weight on this trip, but if our faces look a little bit like we have like weird shadows going across our face, it's because we are under a shade cloth. We have a lot to talk about with shade cloths today, but that's what you see on our faces. So it's our shade cloth, just A, so our equipment doesn't overheat, and B, so we don't overheat.
That's right.
And what's shade cloth good for?
Shade cloth is great when the temperatures get higher to help your blossoms not drop off your vegetable plants.
So it's a question I get a lot too. Is
Yeah.
the blossoms, the flowers are falling off the tomatoes. How can I grow in heat, 90, 95 degrees? And if I pull it into my view, 70% shade cloth, put it over your tomatoes, cools everything down 10 to 15 degrees, and your tomatoes will form.
Works great.
Hey Gary, there's some people here from your channel from Czech Republic. Adam,
Thank
Adam,
you.
Cool.
that's way
Hello.
cool. South Jersey, KP Williams, that's really cool. Some Indiana folks. Oh, someone from Hawaii.
Awesome.
Aloha,
Karen
mahalo.
Higgins, Morgantown, West Virginia.
Lots of Canadians. Diane from Canada. I saw someone from India here. Let me see who that was. Fresh Green Garden from India. That's great. People from all over the world.
And we have Julian from Argentina.
Cool.
Very cool.
All right, so what we're going to do next, before we go to questions from you all, is we're going to explain to you why the Californians are even out here. And we are here primarily we wanted to see the
Thank you.
homestead. We wanted to see Gary's place. We're so happy for him and his family to have this place. It's so lovely. And, you know, we decided for this 4th, it's a long weekend, let's go out and see. And so we're shooting some videos here together.
Right.
But that's why
That's
we're
right.
out here. We're having a great time. It's beautiful. This place is just beautiful.
Thanks so much, and welcome
Now-
to the East Coast.
Thank you. We're so glad to be here. Now, one thing that you guys might not know, or maybe you do if you've been following Gary for a while, is that when he first got this property, where we're sitting now is actually grass.
It was.
So one thing he's explained to me is how he pretty much built this garden from the ground up, from a patch of grass, and we're gonna actually do a garden tour video. You guys will hopefully see that on our channels this weekend. It's a thriving food forest, basically. It's full of vegetables, and we've already been eating a lot of vegetables while we're here that we've harvested.
That's the goal.
So maybe you could explain a little bit like
So,
how
yeah.
you got started and what the whole idea behind the garden is.
Well, I've been doing a YouTube channel, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. Been gardening since my grandfather taught me. He would come over with tomato plants, plant them, and that's kind of how I got the bug. So December 31st this year, my wife and I moved to 2 acres, an 1867 farmhouse, and I wanted it to be an edible landscape. You know, we'll have videos and stuff coming out on that. So everything that I'm planting around here is some ornamental, lots of flowers for bees, but mostly something you can eat. If it's strawberries or blueberries, instead of bushes, it's blueberry bushes. There's lots of apple trees and stuff like that. So the garden behind us is the main garden, about 100 days worth of work, from grass to where we are now. So I'm kind of celebrating it's finally where I want. Thank you for being part of it. I do really, really appreciate it. And going forward, I want to do more of the live videos, connect more with people from around the globe. As I just said, it's amazing that we can talk with gardeners from around the globe, and start changing the format a little bit more so that I can interact with everyone.
That's right. And you guys will get to see more of the garden on the garden tour. We did a full garden tour. First look at the garden for me anyway. It was super exciting. And we can kind of explain a little bit, Gary. I know you talked about kind of the concept behind the garden of creating different spaces in the garden. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like you've seen the tours, and I'm actually going to do a tour video and just showing how this went from grass all the way up to here, like a whatever time flash forward or whatever you call it. The whole idea is I got almost a perfect rectangle of yard. So you go out the front door, the front area is fenced in with fencing. That's one room, and that's for the grand dog, Tucker, which some people have seen. Future grandkids, not too soon. Friends, kids, and that's kind of the home garden. I have tomatoes out there, leafy greens, that kind of stuff. Fruit, stuff you can walk out for breakfast, grab some fruit. You can go get something for lunch. And then as you transition out into the garden, just about every space is some sort of room. So it's a different sitting angle, different feel to it. This whole space here, of course, is the garden room. Behind it, or in front of us actually, is the fire pit and the shade area. But as you would walk around when it's done, I'm only on phase 1, I need another year or two. The outdoors will be just broken into rooms, like a living room, kitchen, dining room, that kind of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you'll have different little areas where if you have people in, you might want to know how to grow vegetables.
Right.
You could kind of show them what to do in certain areas and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Is that
and
what
this,
you're-
well, right, and the rustic garden, as you've been watching the tours, is set up as a teaching garden too. It's everything I need and more. So Fridays, people ask me all the time, what do you do with all your food? So on Fridays, I have friends come over, they'll come and they'll get what we have that's extra in the garden. So
cool.
we're not wasting anything. But it's set up as teaching. So you'll see containers, raised beds, all kinds of different ways to grow your plants.
That's great. I think that's one thing I love about it is there's lots of different ways to grow. So if you don't have the space for a big garden, by watching your videos, you can see different ways that people can do it that keeps it really simple.
Yeah, it works.
Good.
While you guys get ready to make sure you can see chat for questions, we're going to turn it over to questions for you all here in a minute. I do want to say that Gary is being very humble about all the work that he's done here. Kim and I saw these progressive pictures from Gary. He worked so hard out here. It's incredible all the work that Gary has done. He's really playing it low, but he has done a lot of work. He absolutely just went to town out here in the short amount of time. How much has been done here? It's incredible. And I will also say that Gary does not waste anything. Everything is repurposed. He's even shown me just how much water he captured, just to show us how much water falls in this area compared to what we run into California.
That was funny because Kim keeps asking, so you don't have to set up sprinklers, or you don't do what was the word you were using?
Irrigation?
I don't even
Drip
irrigation,
irrigation.
drip
Yeah.
irrigation, or anything. Because we had a storm yesterday, 3 inches of water. And
Crazy.
she keeps saying, so as we drove around the neighborhood, do they do drip irrigation? Do they? No, we get tons of water. But that's how it differs, because we get the humidity, we get the rain. We have a whole set of different diseases and problems on the East Coast
That's right.
versus what you guys have.
That's right. We don't really have diseases. We have bugs and things like that, but it's really interesting to compare notes. And a lot of you out there too, I mean, people are here spread out all over the place. So it's really good to watch gardeners from different parts of the country and of the world so you can see different ways to garden. Because there's so many different ways to garden. It's not like I'll narrow down to just one way. So experiment and see what works best for you and grow yourself some veggies.
All right, so get your questions ready, and
All right, I'm gonna
you
go ahead.
and you can start your questions off. We've got a moderator named Christy, Everything Sunflowers on the Calicum side, so she'll be coaching you guys all along on how to do questions. But usually you start your questions with the word question in all caps. That way these two can kind of spot that fast and know that there's a question there. These two
Right.
are going to tandem back and forth. They're going to take turns answering questions.
Or we might do 3 questions, and I'm going to try to figure out what a question is. So keep talking. I'll just
you,
Okay.
So we'll wing
I'm-
it. So the other thing, I just saw a question go by that said, "Does Gary have chickens?" And no, we have
No.
not. We have not seen any.
I can answer that. No.
Go
no,
for it.
No, so no animals yet. So
Can
one
you
of
get
the
your question?
one of the thing I wanted to do was, if I bring in animals, I want to be respectful and be able to take care of them 100%. So I don't have a community association except for a little bit. And one thing they say is you can't have chickens, and that might be able to change. But I can have goats, I can have other livestock, but I want to make sure I bring them in, I learn how to take care of them, figure out what to do if I go on vacation, and I just don't want them here as props. I want them here as something that are, part of the garden, part of the family. But it's coming, it's somewhere down the line at phase whatever. Phase 1 was a garden.
Phase 1. We got phase 1 well underway. We're going into phase 2. Gary's actually talked about phase 7,
Yes.
believe it
I
or
have
not.
a phase 7 plan, yes.
Which means that we're going to have to watch this
Right.
grow over the past few years.
All right.
So yeah, I've got a question here asking about how Gary and I met. So
got it.
yeah, I'd love to answer that question
doing
because
cats.
when we first started our channel, was it 7 years ago, Jerry? 7 or 8 years ago. Gary was actually one of the very first ones who, was a big encouragement to us. And he sent us an email and said, I really think you guys have something here. Go for it. I really believe in you guys. And was just a really big cheerleader. We hadn't obviously met him in person yet, but we got to be friends online. And then we actually had the chance to meet in person. I think it was 2 or maybe coming on 3 years ago now at the
Yeah,
National Garden Bureau
in Arkansas,
thing.
yeah.
And
Oh,
then
wait, before that too?
yeah.
Okay.
And then we got to be friends online and we did a lot of collaborations together. And then over the years, we've had a chance to meet at different garden events and have just
And now
collaborated
you're
on a
on
lot
the
of
East
different
Coast.
videos. And here
so,
we are now.
So it's great.
That's right.
Right.
You did come to the West
And I
Coast
came to
one
West
time.
Coast for your 100K
That's right.
subscribers, so that was exciting.
So hopefully we'll get him out our way again.
And for the
soon.
record straight, Gary, as you get your question ready, they are not siblings. Someone just chatted
Oh.
and said, I thought they were siblings. They are not married.
No,
We're friends.
She's
no,
married to me.
That's true.
Okay, but we are such good friends that we all just get along so well. So for that, we'll get the record straight set on that one. And also, one last thing is Aaron from Garden Answer super chatted us early in this. So Aaron, thank you very much. It's great to have you guys here out from the Oregon, the Eastern Oregon Plains. There is where you guys are. at.
Right.
So thank you
Or-
very much, Aaron.
yeah, Oregon.
All right, Gary, you're up.
Sure. I think phase 2 should be I get my glasses on next time. So looking here, Samantha Thrasher didn't ask a question, but she made a statement. Yes, you can eat broccoli leaves, and that is true. A lot of people ask me, because sometimes here broccoli doesn't grow well at flowers. You can grow it, eat the small flower heads that form, but you can eat the leaves too. Let's see, Josh Xmac, it looks like. What kind of light do you use to start your seedlings indoor? And fluorescent tubes, I get mine at Home Depot or Lowe's. I have a lot of videos on it. But you want to get a tube, a lighting system that's set up that's let's say about, why did I forget? It's Kelvin and lumen. So you want the highest Kelvin rating, 6500 K, which mimics daylight, and you want about 3000 plus lumens, which now you can get into the 5000 lumens with the LED light. So 6500 K Kelvin, 3000 plus lumens, and you can grow your seed starts indoors.
Very good.
Perfect.
And as Kim, as you get yours ready, Luz, thank you for a $5 super chat there. Very much appreciated, and great to have you here. You're always so supportive and positive with us, so thank you.
Thanks, Luz.
So, and
Oops,
just
sorry.
for the super chat, if you guys, that's when you're donating money or something like that. If you donate it now, I can't figure out what to do, so
You don't do
please
anything.
please don't do that. Just leave a question and I'll get better at this second time around.
Okay, I just lost my question here. Sorry. Someone from India. I'm sorry, I'm looking for your question, but you were asking about chilies, about hot chili peppers. I'm sorry, I can't find it here. So if you're in the chat, let me know your name again. But you're asking about blossoms dropping off hot chilies. And funny enough, we just did a Q&A video this morning, which we're going to be posting on our channel as well with that very question in it. Basically what happens is once the temperature rises above 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, not sure what the Celsius, the blossoms do tend to drop off your plants. It's just too hot for them. They really don't like temperatures that hot. So one thing you can do is cover your plants with some shade cloth, which Gary mentioned a little bit sooner. And this is just a piece of fabric that you can get, or a shade cloth you can pick up on Amazon. Sometimes garden centers have it. And you can see it has little small holes in it. So it shades the plants but allows some sunlight to get through. It'll really help lower the temperature. We're definitely a lot cooler sitting under the shade cloth, maybe a good 10 degrees cooler. And that'll help your plants to not drop blossoms and continue to set fruit.
And that question came from Mathangi Narayan. So thank you very
thanks.
much. That was a great question. I was able to find it.
One thing too you can also use is sheer curtains if you have any old ones of those sitting around your house, or take a look at the thrift stores and pick some of those up too.
So you're right, we just did a Q&A video that we're going to put out probably this week. But two questions. Mary Ratcliffe from the South, she's asking about peppers. Her tomatoes do wonderfully. Peppers are flowering, but they're not producing fruit. And then, let's see, somebody else just asked me a question. Let's say leaf. Okay, so Valerie Reynolds, the leaves are curling on your pepper plant. So curling leaves for your tomatoes and peppers, nothing to worry about. It happens. It's just a response to what's going on in nature. And typically the plant will work it out. Just stick to regular watering, regular feeding. You don't have to do anything. As for peppers not producing, I don't know if your flowers are falling off or not, or it's just taking a long time. But usually it's just a nature thing. When the temperature's correct and the temperatures are right and the roots are warm and everything is good, your peppers will start doing what they need to do. You're not doing anything wrong. Just stick with curling leaves, water and feeding, wait for the flowers to produce fruit.
That's right.
And let it go.
I think sometimes as gardeners, we really want to get to that end result quickly, but it is a really good practice in patience. And that's the hardest part for me of gardening, is waiting. So sometimes you just need time for the plants to grow and regenerate. And before you know it, you're going to see those flowers come out, and then you'll see the little tiny peppers form. So that's always a really exciting part. Now I have a question here from Margaret Aguilera. And the question is, do you have to have a wooden lifted box to grow plants indoors? And I'm assuming you mean like a raised bed of some kind that you can lift up off the ground. No, you can grow plants indoors or outdoors. Well, outdoors, right in the ground. And Gary, I think you have some spots out here where you have them growing directly in your earth beds. But indoors too, you can get little containers. Like my little Calikim 5-gallon smart pots are perfect to grow indoors. I grow a lot of stuff in those inside, move it outside, or back and forth depending on the weather. So keep it simple. The really important thing is to keep it simple. Use what you already have around your house. You can even grow in like milk jugs that you cut the bottom, or cut little holes in the bottom, and start some seeds in there and put them under grow lights like Gary had mentioned.
It all works.
And yeah, it all works out. So use what you have and just get something going.
Before you go, Gary, can I say that we have another super chat from Jacob? So thank you very much, Jacob. And for those of you in Gary's live stream, if you're not familiar with what a super chat is, right under where you type what you're going to put into the chat, there's a $sign. And when you click that $sign, you can set the amount of how much you would like to donate to Gary, that type of thing. Gary, you don't have to do anything once that's done. So,
Okay.
so just wanted to let you all know that's what we're talking about. And also, Sandra Morales says here, and I so agree with you, Sandra. She says, anyone else just enjoy Gary's voice?
Oh,
I do.
Thank
We
you.
always say that.
Yeah, I do.
All right.
Fantastic.
It's relaxing.
Now I can't talk.
That is gonna freeze up. All right.
All right. So, and a couple more questions. It looks like Tina, question: how do you both tackle ant issues in your raised bed? And if you've watched some of the recent videos, moving out here, I got 4 different kinds of ants now, and they did take out my lettuce plants. They were eating the roots. That seems to be all that they did, so I kind of let it go. But definitely, people gave me tips. Drop cornmeal. They eat the cornmeal, swells up, kills them off. You can do borax. I've done that before. It's a borax and sugar mix.
I've done
you
that.
can, and you can look that up online. It's pretty standard. That will help get rid of them. The only thing I do with the borax, you don't want your pets eating it, so I put it in the mason jars, metal cap on top, holes in the metal cap. The ants can get in, but your pets can't get in.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And I think there's one more question here. This is from Gina Russ. And maybe this is for you, Kim. Question: how is the tomato race going?
Oh boy.
I just showed her the big Zach.
Okay.
And it's a nice large size.
Well, it's going really good here at the Rusted Garden, and we're actually going to show it. A little sneak peek of Gary's tomato on our garden tour video this weekend. He's got a full sun garden, guys. It's probably what you're saying, maybe 12 hours of sun a day.
It gets 12 hours of sun. And the big Zach variety was recommended by a bunch of subscribers as one of the best tomatoes to grow to get 3, 4, 5 pounder.
And
so
it
thank
is
you.
big.
It's showing off.
Yeah.
It's definitely big. He's got lots of sun. We've had a super cloudy spring, as you guys know,
It's okay.
and
It's
my
okay.
garden, no, my garden does not get 12 hours of sun a day. So the growth is definitely different. But you know what? It's okay, guys. It's okay because it's really fun to see how things grow different here as opposed to my garden. You have so much rain too. And I've got to irrigate the heck out of my plants.
We don't need to irrigate.
He doesn't even know what irrigation is. I told him I'd install drip irrigation for him, and he said, no, we don't need it.
So I will jump in here and I will say that we have seen Gary's tomato for this contest.
Yes.
It is huge.
Yes.
We've got problems basically. However, something might accidentally happen to
Yeah.
his tomato while we're
Never
here.
know. We might
Well,
accidentally kick
I
it or
don't know.
step on it.
He got some witnesses now. We'll know what
right.
happens.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's great. It's so much fun to be here.
I have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Celine Bridges. Hey guys, question: we have grasshoppers and they're eating my vegetable plants. I have grasshoppers too now. So if you don't want to use dusts, that seems to be what works best for grasshoppers. You can use organic, you can use chemical, but the dust will kill everything. It doesn't know good from bad. There's a video I did recently, and it's called Ag Fabric or Garden Mesh, and you can actually cover over your plants. Now the grasshoppers can crawl under, but it really does prevent chewing insects, grasshoppers, worms from getting to your plants, and it's a non-chemical way to reduce the damage. You probably can't stop the grasshoppers, but you can greatly reduce it by just using the garden mesh over your vegetables.
And we don't have a lot of grasshoppers. So usually what I do when I see one is I just catch them and then get rid of them, smash them. Okay, oh, Cindy Allison is saying she misses seeing Mac in the video. See how unfortunately we couldn't fly Mac at her with us. He's back home with our son. And so we did not feel the earthquake that happened yesterday, but our kids definitely did.
All right, while you
Okay.
guys get your next questions ready, I am the camera guy. For those of you who don't know, I shoot for Cali Kim. And I'm going to take a selfie here real quick, so you guys just do what you need to do.
All right, I have a question.
All right.
Go for
Hang
it.
on a minute, Gary. And Kim, look this way. And our studio
Where
audience
are we looking?
out there.
Oh, okay.
Studio audience
right.
will be
Your camera?
in the picture.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
look
are
at-
we
look
looking
at-
forward?
No, look up here.
Oh, okay.
Turn
Okay,
around.
Look at
ready?
Jerry.
1, 2, 3. All right, we're official
All
now.
right.
You guys will see this selfie later. Okay. Oh, it's another super chat here from Dre No 64.
Very
Let me
nice.
see that. Thanks for all the seed coaching, Gary. That's awesome. I'm not sure if that was on your channel or mine,
Well,
but
very appreciated.
thank you so much. We appreciate the super chat, guys. And let's see. I think
This is a really good question. So I know, let's let the plane fly by.
Hi, Angelico, by the way. I saw your hi.
Oh, is it Helica on here?
So Trang Sun This question is, and I know you are 100% organic,
Yes.
and I'm going to say this live. I'm 95% organic. I don't mind using the chemical fertilizers. You just don't go crazy with them and use them 24/7. The question here is, and part of my channel is I want to educate people. Make the decision you want, but I don't want you to be scared of things. This question is Miracle Grow fertilizer safe on edibles? From Chesapeake, Virginia. And the answer is yes, it's safe. It's processed by human beings, so it's a process that we make the chemical fertilizer. But it doesn't harm you, it doesn't harm the plant. If you use those chemical fertilizers over and over and over again, it builds up a salt in your soil, kills off the soil life. But if you use it at like half strength, third strength, once a month, every other month, it's not gonna harm you, it's not gonna harm your plants. And that's what I do sometimes. If I have struggling plants, they'll get the chemical fertilizer, it covers all the bases. I go back to my fish emulsion, water-soluble organics. But I don't want you to be afraid thinking that if you use a chemical fertilizer, you've wrecked your garden, you've hurt yourself. It's just not true.
And Gary, while you look up your next question and stuff, you got a $10 super chat from Bob Paxson, who says, just a thank you for Gary. You've taught me so much.
I
Wow,
appreciate
cool.
it greatly. Thank
Gary
you.
actually has two $10
And
super
also,
chats.
Ron Happold, another $10.
Thank you.
He's saying, thanks for all the info, Gary. It's helped me in my first 4 years of gardening and seed starting. You even responded to direct messages. Thanks, buddy.
And
That's awesome.
It's very
Great.
nice. And that's one of the things I like to do is I probably do respond to 95% of the comments, emails, as much as I can. And I really want people to get better at what they're doing. As I kind of go forward with the Rusted Garden, I've got a lot of the technical videos, but just the mindfulness, the wellness, all those kind of catch mental health terms. I'm a therapist by trade, so I do work full time. I think it's really, really important to enjoy your garden, kind of get the work out, but also enjoy it, walk around. And so I'm glad
Absolutely.
this is helping people.
That's right. Oh, you gonna go?
Yeah, I am going to say something along that line. And you guys don't know this yet, but I was watching these two work in the garden yesterday, and it was just that. They were both doing their own things, but walking around this garden, and they'd pass each other and say, I'm getting water. And then they walk by and that kind of thing. And it's truly just a place, I think, for you just kind of just slow down and just enjoy what you're doing.
Enjoy it, right.
And build things and see things grow and live. And I actually took footage of that. You guys just haven't,
Uh-oh.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
you haven't seen it yet.
This will be fun.
But it's really special out there to watch
Cool.
these two.
Well, it's
in their
fun
own
to-
space, yet at this
Sorry.
in the same place at the same time.
It's fun to, just along those lines, if I mean, that's a great thing. It's really fun to garden with someone. I typically am alone in my garden, unless a friend stops by or whatever. So if you guys are able to be in some type of a garden community, whether it's online or garden with your kids or have friends over, it really makes it fun. You're able to share things together, and it just brings part of the joy, into gardening.
There's a question now. One of the things, maybe phase 2 or phase 3, is I want to have a small cornfield out here. I don't know if you've
Okay.
grown corn before.
One time.
Okay, so I think I got the answer, but Eileen or Eilena Agama, it looks like, asked a question. How do I know when my corn is ready, and what does the flower mean on top? So your corn will get 5 feet, 6 feet tall, puts that flower up on top, and all that on the top is pollen. And when you look down into the stalk, you see all these silks coming out. Like when you open corn, you see all these silks. That pollen has to contact every one of those silks, which go to a kernel. And if I'm making this up, someone will correct me, but I think I got it right. And that's what fertilizes and it develops a really nice ear of corn. And she asked, like, how do I know when it's ready? You can actually cheat. You can peel away some of the leaves and look, but you'll be able to feel it too. But you want it to get to, the typical size. You can look in, you'll see the kernels. But that flower up top has to drop all this pollen onto your corn. And that's why we typically plant in squares. So when the wind comes, it blows the pollen one way and then the other way, and then all your corn silks get pollinated. If not, you're gonna have like a big ear of corn with a couple of developed kernels on there.
Oh, that's cool. I had no idea. I've only grown corn one time, so we're learning something. I'm learning something too all the time. And it looks like we do have another super chat here from Karen D'Souza, $4.99. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Calikim, Gary, and Camera Guy, for sharing your knowledge and videos with us. You're so inspiring. Thank you. We really appreciate that. It's always fun to share what you love to do. So really, this is just like a pleasure
lot
for
of
us.
fun.
It's a lot of fun.
And
Okay.
Lisa Pratt just super chatted as well.
Oh, wow.
$1.99 from Lisa Pratt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lisa.
I think I'm reading that right. Thank you.
Yeah, and Cliff Warren,
Oh,
thanks
Cliff.
for agreeing with me because
Oh, nice, Cliff.
I really want people to be comfortable using products the right way. And he just says that he basically does a similar thing. He takes care of the garden with organic stuff, but he'll use the other stuff. And I think that's a good approach. I never try and be 100% anything. 90% still an A, so that's
right.
pretty good.
That's good. Okay, I saw a question here about my seeds being available in India, and I think they are available in India right now. I'll have to go back and double check that. And then people are asking, can you make them available in the Caribbean? So
Yeah, Quick Gardener was asking about that.
yes, so let me check on that, guys. I know I have to activate something on my website to make that happen. So I'll check into that and hopefully we can make that happen. I did also want to talk about school gardens. A couple people were asking about school gardens. Someone says they're getting ready to establish one. I'm not sure if I can find that comment again. Jelly Ellis is talking about what a great thing those are. And I just want to respond. There is a garden in Pittsburgh, a school garden that just started with a lot of my seeds and containers. I can't remember the name, Patty Scanzella. Sometimes she's on here. They are just having a ball. She sent me a bunch of pictures and the kids are having a great time planting. They're learning, they're getting their hands in the soil. They're getting excited about what they grow. And planting a garden with kids is actually a great way to get them to eat vegetables because they pop that seed, just want to grab and plant. I would highly, highly encourage that. We also did a couple videos with California Garden TV. I think he's on here today too, and his son and a friend, and we were able to plant a garden with them, and they had a great time. So you can go back and watch the Kids Garden series. I do have a Kids Garden seed collection too that's not special seeds, but just quicker growing vegetables that you can use to plant your kids' garden with.
We also got another super chat from Kimberly Rainwater. Thank you very much for $15. Thank you. That is so kind of you.
I think we are back. Our hotspot was having trouble here, so let us know how it is now, guys. Sorry about that.
You're
And
live, all
yeah,
right.
we are live. Okay,
Sorry.
cool.
A great answer for a question too. Now,
So bear with us, guys, while we figure out some questions here.
so just to piggyback on the teaching kids how to have
yes,
a vegetable
that's
garden. I think memory has me right. Honey Brown 36 is also starting a teaching gardening. I would be glad to help out, and I know you've already done that. If you want to contact me with helping kids in schools get started with vegetable gardening and working with you guys in some way, I would be glad to do that. But I've learned too, I work in the city. Sometimes, you know, it sounds funny. You ask some of the kids going through there, where do radishes grow? And they might say, and it's not funny, but on a tree, or they don't know where tomatoes come from. And I think that's just something we really owe all of our kids to learn how to grow your own food, how to raise your own food. Because even the funnier answers I get sometimes from kids where I raise my kids is that, well, they come from a grocery store, they're in a can,
That's
or
right.
they just show up in a box. But really coming out behind us and letting a kid walk through, I think is one of the greatest things you can do. Let them see how you grow your own food.
Absolutely. And they really do get excited about it. It's a big thrill. So again, if you've got kids, grab your kids, even if you're just planting something small, like a little container of lettuce or anything like that, that they can actually see grow. So yeah, that's a great way to get started. And looks like we have another super chat here from Lisa. Thank you so much, Lisa. She says super chat is acting up. Sorry, no problem. We really appreciate you tuning in. And thank you so much for supporting our channel. So let me head back into the chat here and see what other questions we have. Here's a question from Henry Froggy. And Gary, I don't know if you have any experience with this, but the question is how to cross-pollinate tomatoes in order to make a stable heirloom variety. Have you ever tried that before?
No, and years ago, I used to give hybrid tomatoes a hard time, and I was completely wrong because I work with All America Selections, and the plant breeders, out of passion, will spend a decade making a stable cultivar, which is basically the cross-pollinating that you're talking about. Except when you do it, you have to keep doing it over and over again. And this is not the technical term, but you have to keep doing it till it stabilizes. So if you sometimes buy a tomato at a grocery store, you try and grow the seeds, it'll grow, but it'll go back to the parent tomato. So what you have to do, because tomatoes are self-pollinating, is you have to get them at the right time when flower forms and move pollen from the other variety over to the variety you're crossing with. And you have to time it right, or it's just gonna self-pollinate. And it's really, really hard to do. And you gotta grow the tomato, save the seeds, and continue that process. And it's really a labor of passion. I have a lot of respect for the seed breeders. or the variety breeders.
And really, to get an heirloom variety, isn't it like a 10-year kind of period before it's considered heirloom? Because it has
So,
to be very stable.
Yeah, it's longer than that, but the bottom line is it switches. It used to be 100 years. You go back to the brandy wines, the reds, and all that from the 1800s. They're an 1886 variety. And then, depending on where you look, it might be 50 years, but it's usually about 50 years.
Okay. Oh, wow. It's a
And
long
that's
time.
considered an heirloom. Or if it's earlier than that, it's considered a stable cultivar. It's just
Okay.
not an heirloom. And that just means if you plant the seed of a tomato, it gives you the exact tomato from which you planted it. And that's a stable cultivar.
Okay.
You know, and then if you do that and you wait 50 years, then you got your heirloom.
So hang around 50 years. You never know what might happen.
All right, we have 2 super chats I'll read real quick. Ocean Bound, my favorite channels of all time. So thank you so much, Ocean Bound.
Thank you.
You've given before. That's really awesome. Thank you. And also Lisa Pratt was saying that it was super chat was acting up funny, so she gave another $9.99. So thank you very much. That is very, very nice of you. Much appreciated.
Here's a good question. Diana, looks like Salsa again. Sorry about that, I don't have my glasses on. Question, Gary, what flowers do you plant in the garden? Camera guy, if there was one vegetable you would like to plant without Kim, what would it be? So,
That's great.
You can think about that.
I will think about that.
Flowers, borage, cilantro, purple coneflower, echinaceas, coreopsis, all great flowers for bringing in pollinators. I do a lot of different. I
To make sure Gary's in this
a lot of different flowers, sunflowers, and if you look at the different videos, you'll see pots around of just mixes of flowers. And I will be doing more videos on that. But I really do like cilantro is a great one. It really brings in the pollinators and it reseeds. Go ahead.
Great.
Oh, you
Camera guy,
remembered?
you're
Okay,
on.
I would have to say if I was going to do something without Kim, it would be tomatoes.
Yay.
They're pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, just keep them off the ground, maybe cover them now and then you just eat them.
It's that easy.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? Should we have a camera guy tomato
Kim.
all on his own? Now I know people
You
would
can
love that.
Give him his own smart pot and see what he can do.
Maybe we should get a camera guy smart pot made. Camera
think
guy's
it's-
so darn cute.
You know, I think we're
Aw,
over.
you are,
I think
honey.
it's done now. The live stream's over.
Okay, let's see. I saw a question here. Can I still grow plants in Bakersfield, California? Okay, we know, well, for those of you that aren't from California, Bakersfield absolutely cooks. It's out in the desert on your way to Vegas, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
Kind of.
It's
Anyway,
north.
it gets
gets
super
hot
hot,
there.
like well over 100 degrees a lot of times, probably 110, something like that. And I would say, yes, you can. You do want to pick some plants that are maybe a little more heat tolerant, but definitely you're going to want to grow with some shade cloth here. And that will really help. Or you can also grow some things where you get morning sun, where it's not quite as hot in the morning. So maybe put them under a tree that just gets some morning sun and then is shaded during the latter part of the day. Peppers, you know, hot peppers are really heat tolerant. You can grow like heat tolerant varieties of tomatoes. A heat tolerant green that works really well, it takes temperatures over 100 degrees in my garden, is kale and chard. And I would recommend picking up my heat tolerant green seed collection because there's 5 varieties in there. 2 varieties of kale, chard, a Paris cause lettuce, which is good up to about 80 degrees, and a New Zealand spinach. And those really do take the heat. So you might just want to experiment and see what works best in those kind of temps. But with those little tips, hopefully you can get some kind of veggies growing there.
We have another super chat from Scott Fullerton. This is a really great comment
Oh,
here.
thanks.
He says, "Hey Gary, no question. Just wanted to say thanks. My Floridad and Porter.
The Floridade, yeah.
Okay, you are doing great. Just built a new planter with composted animal waste from the LA Zoo. Should be interesting.
Oh,
Thanks."
wow.
That should be good.
Yeah,
Can I
that
just
would be.
Cool.
thank you very much. And for the composted manures, and I've talked to you about this before. When you buy these bag products or you get them shipped in and they say it's your compost, and it should say composting. And the difference is if you put manures into the ground, mix it in to depth, 6 inches or so, usually it's not done composting, and the biology needs nitrogen to finish breaking down. So you might put it into your garden and you see your tomatoes get yellow, they are not growing, your plants seem dwarfed. It's because your manures weren't finished composting down 100%, so they're pulling the nitrogen temporarily. You can fix that if you notice that happening. Give them the chemical fertilizers or the organic fertilizers that are just high in nitrogen, one blast, and that will kind of get your plants going.
That's right. The Good Dirt plant food is great for that. I think it's a 10 in nitrogen.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so that'll work really well for that too.
Question from Fly Fishing Matt. What do you prefer? What materials do you prefer for fencing and why? Whatever's the least expensive and will last the longest, which is usually pressure treated pine. And people sometimes are concerned that pine or pressure treated materials aren't good for you or the garden. And they're not, but 20 years ago they were arsenic. Now that they're treated with copper, I believe that they're safe. They're not going to hurt you. They're not going to harm you. They're treated with copper and they last a long time. Also in between, maybe when I do a tour, I have black wire mesh that's just small rectangles, maybe about that size. That's to keep the animals out. And I found that really made a difference. It didn't really matter what I constructed it with, but if I had space, I wanted vinyl covered metal because it lasts long and it keeps the animals from getting in. The other stuff would rust out if I was just using the metal wire.
Perfect. Okay, I saw a question here from Sandra Morales. This is my first year growing zucchini. Does it vine? As in the main stem gets longer. Does that mean the plant will move deeper into my yard? Okay, so it's not like a vining, like there's some vining varieties of squash, like the butternut and a spaghetti squash, acorn squash is vining. Zucchini tends to grow in more of a bush habit, but you can actually grow it in a tomato cage and kind of, or on a stake even. You could do that way too to save
Raise
some
it up.
space. And it'll definitely spread out. And what I do is I trim off my leaves, the bottom leaves, as they get yellow, as we go throughout the growing season, and then you see like a long stem. So you can kind of train that. Or you won't be able to train it, you have to tie it up the stake to save some space. So it definitely will grow out and go into your garden, but not like a butternut squash or a spaghetti squash will. So hopefully that answers your question, Sandra.
I want to say hi to Carla Jackson in Scotland.
Oh,
Again,
cool.
I think it's amazing we can have this technology and chat globally.
I know, it's really neat to have people from all over the world.
So it's about 1:45 here on the East Coast side, so we'll go about 10 minutes more or so.
Sure.
So
Okay.
get your questions in there if you have one that you would like to get answered. We'll do our best.
Sounds good. I think this is a good one for you, Gary, from Lucienne.
Okay, if you read it.
Having issues with leaf spot and blight. I did the H2O2 and baking soda spray. I was waiting to start maintenance on Monday. Still seeing spots on newer leaves. Should I do protocol again?
So, all right, that might take 10 minutes. Let's sit back. So, number one, hydrogen peroxide works really well. Baking soda works really well. I wouldn't mix them together, and you may not be doing that. But let's just say for now you're using the hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide hits the leaf, hits the fungus, it breaks down to water and oxygen. That energy break, in short, is what kind of kills off the fungus. So if you have an outbreak, to answer your question, give it a spray. Wait 3 days, give it a spray again. Wait 3 days, give it a spray again. So what you're doing is you're really trying to clean off the leaves with the hydrogen peroxide. Keep the baking soda till later. Once you feel like it's under control, you can go to baking soda, Serenade, whatever you want to use every 10 to 14 days to keep the diseases at bay. And I've been saying lately, the most important thing is not what product you choose to use, but stick to the routine. Stick to the routine, and that makes a big difference. Hydrogen peroxide, if you use it like I described, will get it under control. And it's different. Like, let's see if I can truly do this real quickly. Hydrogen peroxide hits the leaf, sort of cleans the leaf, goes away. Baking soda sits on the leaf, Serenade sits on the leaf, neem oil sits on the leaf, and it makes it inhospitable to the fungus coming. So they work a little bit differently. How was
Okay,
that?
great. Yeah, that was great.
Very good.
And Gary also has some videos on that can explain it in more detail.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, you can look up H2O2 on my channel and you'll see the ratios that I came up with. And if you're just hearing about this the first time, always test spray, no matter if you hear it from me or from Kim or if Camera Guy starts growing his tomatoes and starts
That's
making
right.
up sprays. You want to test spray whatever you hear from the internet. You know, so spray a couple of leaves, wait 48 hours, see if there's any damage, and then move forward. Because when you spray in California at 80 degrees, but you spray here in Maryland at 90 degrees, you could damage the plant,
That's
and,
right.
and it matters.
Now, I did have a question last week. I thought this was a great question. What if there's damage? What do I do after using that spray? I wait 48 hours, see damage on the leaves, then what?
So you can cut the ratio back, like I forget, so don't quote me. For the hydrogen peroxide, it might be, let's just say an 8-to-1 ratio, 8 parts hydrogen peroxide, 1 part water. If 8-to-1 doesn't work, because the damages go to 6 to 1.
Okay.
And the flip side, as I think I gave a range, you could start at a 4 to 1 ratio and kind of work your way up, but always test.
Yes, all very, very important. Always test.
Kim, did we read the super chat from Jamie L?
I don't think so. I
Okay,
think
so
we've
we
got a
got 2
couple in
super
here.
chats here. One from Jamie L for $9.99. Thank you. She writes, or he writes, sorry. Says, Gary and Kim, thank you. You grow more than seeds. You grow gardeners.
That's
Oh
appreciate
wow,
it.
thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting choked up. And have influenced this whole family to turn a whole yard into urban food forest
Oh, that's outstanding.
great.
I'd love to see a picture
from
at some point.
Bakersfield.
Oh, from
That's
Bakersfield.
incredible. What a great story all the way around. So yeah, get these guys a picture if you can.
That's amazing.
That is
Especially in
fascinating.
Bakersfield, it's hot
And
there.
one of them just disappeared.
Oh, I
Shoot.
have one here
Oh.
from Mitchell Holden.
Yes, that's
Thank
the
you
one.
so much, a $5 super chat. And the question here is, my mom's pumpkins are under attack. She has looked for squash borers but haven't found any. What can she do? If you could tell us what's going on. Are there holes in the leaves? Are you seeing things just wilting all of a sudden? A lot of times, you want to look for the symptoms, and that'll help you determine what's actually attacking your plants.
Right.
I know too, like we go out in the garden when we see problems, we go out in the garden at night because a lot of the bugs do come out at night. You're seeing holes in your leaves. It could be like snails or slugs or something that's there at night. So go out at night with a flashlight. And if you can identify it, I mean, you can do the sprays like you mentioned to really, generally take care of things.
There's right. You can add. So a couple of things. Again, I was talking about dust earlier. Organic dust, chemical dust, again, it's going to kill everything. But there's certain ways to use it. So where the pumpkin stem meets the ground, the first 6 or 8 inches, if there's flowers there, remove them so the bees don't come. Dust along that stem with whatever product you want to use. Vine borers work their way down the stem. They would crawl through the powder. They would die out. Anything coming from that ground to the stem that way may die off too, but your pumpkins, of course, sprawl all over. So if you pick a couple of the outer leaves away from the flowers, dust them also. Cucumber beetles, other beetles will crawl on those outer leaves. The dust isn't where the pollinators are coming. And you can't stop dust from hurting good insects, but you can greatly reduce it. And that might be the way you use it. At this point, if you put mesh over it, you've already got so many bugs mixed in there, it's just not gonna work at this point.
Good, so hopefully you can try some of those. And I would definitely encourage you though to get some backup plants growing. Just in case your pumpkin plant dies, you've got some backup plants ready to take its place.
That's a really good point. And if it's not for pumpkins, squash, zucchini, cucumbers, instead of battling when they get really tall and they've produced, trying to keep them alive, have some growing like you said.
That's right.
Grow them in containers, put them in the ground. They will catch up to those plants in 2 or 3 weeks and be producing while you're trying to battle it for 2 or 3 weeks and you're getting nothing. So don't be afraid to pull out old plants.
Definitely. And you can even, to get things off to a really quick start, you can put it in your garden beds, but what I like to do is usually have some going inside under grow lights because they just bam, 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 they start growing fast and you can get them out in your garden within a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, and Charlene Bindernagel has a $10 super chat for you, Gary. She says, just wanted to say a big thank you to you, Gary, for all of the education. You are awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank
great.
you,
Nice.
Charlene.
Here's a
Yes.
good question about shade cloth from Tanya Cole. Black, green, or tan shade cloth, what's the best? I've used both colors. I've got tan and also this black. I really haven't seen a significant difference as far as if one's better than the other. Some people say, well, the black, heats up more. I really haven't found that to be the case because there's holes in this.
That's what I just did. It's cool.
Yeah.
To the touch.
Let me see if I can pull this in here. There's holes in it. So the breeze is coming through. You're getting plenty of airflow to your plants, and it really doesn't make too much of a difference.
Yep.
Now, Charlene also just gave you a super chat, Kim. She says,
Oh,
thanks,
thanks.
Callie Kim, for everything you do. You both are the only gardeners I watch. My garden
Thank
thrives
you.
because of you guys. Much love. Charlene,
Aw.
thank you so much.
Thank
Very
you,
nice of
Charlene. We appreciate it.
And Jamie L, Gary and Kim, I read that one. Okay,
Yeah.
very good.
We have a question. Danny Chow. Question, I bought mint oil instead of peppermint oil. Would it still work as a repellent? Yes, it's still gonna work. So I sell oils on my seed shop, which you can find in the video descriptions. The oils that I use are peppermint oil and rosemary oil. And they come in little 2-ounce things, but they go a long way. Like you only put a teaspoon in a gallon. Mint oil is good, mint oil will do the same thing. So you put in about a teaspoon of the essential oils into water with some soap, mix it through, and it is a repellent. You're spraying the undersides of your leaves, of the cucumbers, of beans. They work really well to repel spider mites, which are resistant to a lot of things, and to kind of mask the scents of your plants. I mean, I won't get in too much detail, but some bugs smell your zucchini plant, smell your cucumber plant, smell broken squash leaves, and that's how they find you. If you have this mint and these aromas of the essential oils, it may let them fly by. So it's, again, a way to reduce damage.
And it makes your garden smell really good too. Okay, what is Gary's choice of watering? Drip irrigation?
That's, we were just talking
Question
about
mark? Yeah.
Yeah, so the truth is, in the East Coast, we get plenty of rain. I do have to water my containers, but my choice really is I just use a hose. I come out here when the rain isn't showing up. I water by hand, but I don't need to do any kind of drip irrigation. It just rains enough. We had a storm yesterday,
Right.
a good 3 inches of water. And for whatever reason, I got lucky too, is the water, there's lots of rain, of course, in the East Coast, but this property drains really quickly, so I don't get any pooling water. So I rely on the rainwater, and I water by hand.
It's perfect. Yeah. I did see a question back further. I'm sorry that I missed your name there, but this person is growing in Bakersfield. I think he said 200 5-gallon smart pots. So that is incredible.
Wow.
That's a lot of smart pots. And he or she mentioned that they were having trouble keeping them watered. So definitely in hotter climates, hot, dry climates like Southern California, I highly recommend setting up drip irrigation. And definitely with 200, it's going to be tough to water all those by hand. Now, one thing about smart pots, the fabric is aerated. So I really like growing in them because the roots don't get root bound like they do in the plastic containers. But containers are going to dry out faster than an in-ground garden because you don't have the water to pull from like the earth beds like you would in a container. So you're definitely going to have to kind of set those up on a regular watering schedule and just go out and check them and make sure that whatever you have set as your drip irrigation intervals are enough for your containers. And you might have to change those how often you water depending on how hot it is where you live.
One of the things I showed you too, as I was reading a question, you may have covered it, but you can also put your smart pots, there's a pan that goes under a heater, like I go to Home Depot, and you just get these drip pans for condensation. They have a hole in it, you got to duct tape it closed, but it's really wide, so you can put that down. It's about an inch rim around it. I put in clay pots actually, but you can put in a smart pot.
Perfect.
You fill that up with water, and that creates a reserve, and will water your plant. If you're worried about mosquitoes, mosquito bits, just a couple thrown in there, kill off any mosquitoes.
Great.
I got a question here from Grandpa Jones. He asks, Callie Kim, does Camera Guy help you in the garden? Grandpa Jones. First, I'll just respond to this. I'll just say, hi, Grandpa Jones. It's a great question. And I do help on the bigger side of things, like putting up trellises and helping, build and things like that. Not so much always in the planting side, right, Kim? And things like that. But yeah, no, I'm out there with her. And one thing that I've learned that is she just enjoys,
You enjoy weeding, right? No.
she just enjoys
Not
me
really.
being out there.
I don't enjoy weeding.
Not
That's right.
necessarily having to do, labor right next to her, that type of thing, but just me being out there and just being together out in the backyard. Well, I hope that answers that.
Well, I want to add something too, because
Please.
I mean, if you watch my channel, I do everything by hand, usually point of view. I just got a gimbal, and I'm going to use my other camera so that I can go back and forth. But having Jerry here has been amazing. I need to get a camera guy or loan a camera guy into the garden. It's a lot of fun. I mean, he's just buzzing around. So he does a lot in the garden. He's doing a lot with the camera. And I think when I put those videos out, you can just see it's just totally different. And you're really good at it.
Thanks.
So, I mean,
appreciate
it's
it.
outstanding. And it's a whole different kind of difficult work, sort of, for the garden.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really helping create the content that we put out. So it's a very important job. And the big projects, it's always great to have you out there on those too.
I have a really good question. This is from West Coast Gardener. And he said, can you explain the difference between good neem oil and bad neem oil?
That's a good one.
And it's a really big deal. I have a video on it. You can just look up neem oil. When you buy neem oil, the good neem oil is 100% cold pressed neem oil with the azadirachtin in it. It has all of its natural components. It's the nut from the tree squeezed, cold pressed. You get that, you make your sprays out of it. It has everything in there. And just on a sidebar, if you're wondering how they discovered neem oil, when the locusts went through India and just were wiping everything out, they left the neem tree alone. And that's how they figured out chewing
great.
insects didn't like it. When you go to places like Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and it'll say triple action neem is one, and I'm sorry for giving them a bad name, but it's not good neem oil, and I'll tell you why. You can also find other products that say neem oil. It is true, neem oil's in there, but it's called a hydrophobic extract. And if you see the words hydrophobic extract of neem, they've pulled all the good stuff out. They've pulled the azadirachtin out. That's the compound that you want chewing insects to eat. It is true if you buy the hydrophobic neem oil and you spray self-bodied insects, the oil coats, kills the insect, it still works. But you could use corn oil, you could use sunflower oil. It doesn't matter that it's neem oil at that point. So you're just looking for 100% cold pressed neem. I sell that at my shop, but you don't need to buy it from me. Just make sure it's 100% cold pressed. And if you see hydrophobic extract, that's not what you want.
Great,
Very good.
great information there.
It's great.
And one thing I wanted to mention too is when you have questions, search each of our channels, because most likely we do have a video on that, and that way you can get your question answered right away if we're not available right away to answer your comment.
Right.
So maybe we can just take one more question or
You
so.
can take one,
and
yeah, I just shut my
okay,
phone down.
this has really been so much fun. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us here.
Well, while Kim picks that last question, I want to just have everyone let us know what you think about this format here of us being together on two different streams. Tell us what that was like, and also just let us know how much you enjoyed seeing these two together and just fielding questions just right next to each other. I think
They may fly down once a month just to do this. So
yes,
thank you.
we're working on things, and also while Kim does continue, we are filming videos just galore while we're here. So keep an eye on Gary's channel, because he's going to have some different kind of videos coming up on his channel where I'm filming for him and things like that. Also,
right.
what I'm going to do now, so you guys can see the garden behind me, is I'm going to go ahead and get out of the shot. But I just will do that here. I'll say goodbye and just let you just see Gary's just beautiful garden in the background. And Kim, you and Gary can sign it off from here, okay?
Okay.
All right, you guys,
Sounds
thanks for
good.
having us. I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
And there's a ton of questions in the chat here, guys, that we're not going to be able to get to. But what I want to tell you guys is, like I mentioned earlier, we did film a garden tour video right when we got here a couple days ago, and there's going to be a lot of answers to your questions in there. And we're hoping to post that tomorrow if we can get it all edited and uploaded. So make sure you head over. I think we're going to try and post on each of our channels if we can get that to work.
Well, we did, right. We're doing sort of a series too in addition to that. 10 garden questions answered by Kim and Gary, Callie Kim. And we're going to post the same video on both channels, so you'll see that coming up. And that was a lot of fun because Jerry was helping out with that. So we could answer a question, he could show the garden, and it was really good. So we're going to do a couple of those. And I just want to thank everybody for signing in for the first time for the Rustic Garden Homestead First Live feed. If you enjoyed, let me know. Hopefully you did. I'm going to talk with my daughter about being a moderator and maybe get some other help just so I can have somebody helping out with the questions. But I'll probably be doing this, once a month or so.
And thanks so much, guys, for being patient with all the little glitches. I know we're not all in perfect frame at the same time, so just bear with us.
That's me.
Hopefully, if we do that a little bit more often, we'll be able to iron some of that stuff out. I did want to finish with one final question, and maybe we can each answer it. The chat is scrolling by, and I am missing who asked it, but it's a really good question. I'm sorry I can't find who asked it. But basically the question was, when you have a fail in the garden, how do you keep yourself motivated? So that's a great question, because we all go through times where things die that we're really looking forward to harvesting. Things aren't growing, things get eaten by bugs. We have disease come in, maybe a storm or something that wipes things out. And I know I've had a few times where I was really looking forward to harvesting something, and I went out there and it was gone, either by a rat or something like that. Squirrels or the weather. We have tons of wind where we live. And what keeps me motivated is, I used to really get upset about that kind of stuff. But now I have so much growing and so many different back plants that I can bring in, and plants grow so fast, they're actually really resilient. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just cut off the damage, and it's part of life. It's just part of learning and growing, and I never consider it a fail.
Right.
Because I'm learning so much every time something happens like that, and I try and make adjustments and plan for next time. But really, it's just a lot of fun.
Right. And the biggest thing if you're just getting started is to grow what you can maintain, because the key to having some success and some failures is water regularly, feed regularly, and take care of the plants that you can manage.
That's right.
But I do have stuff that dies off. But I also, again, like with the cucumbers, I've learned that when that happens, I don't need to drop seed. I've got the plant. So you're going to
That's right.
learn something's not going to work out. You're going to be disappointed, and it's disappointing. But you'll have other things going on. The other way to deal with it too is don't plant everything at once. Spread out what you plant throughout your garden. So if something's problematic, you're getting success in other places, and that really does make a difference.
Yes, it really does. Because you know you've got those backup plants and things that are coming along very soon. But the other thing that really helps keep motivated is find someone that you can either garden with, or if you don't have someone locally, join a garden community on Facebook, like the Gardening Coast to Coast.
That's a good one.
Facebook group, which Gary and I kind of help moderate, or we do moderate it. And that way you're getting gardeners from all over the world, some who are less experienced, some who are more experienced. There's lots of garden wisdom in there. And it's just a lot of fun. People are sharing photos from really all over the world.
It's what I like to do.
Fun.
I think everyone kind of likes it. We get online. It's
Yeah.
relaxing. You see how people are doing, what's growing. You can relate to it. But there's something that I can just look at, harvest pictures all day on Instagram
right.
of what people are pulling out of the
Yeah,
garden.
it's fun on Instagram and Facebook, and also just watch a lot of YouTube videos too. So it really helps keep us motivated. So I do want to give a shout out to my moderator, Everything Sunflowers and More, Christy. She's in Florida. And Christy, maybe next time we'll see how we can figure out to meet up with you, because it's been a lot of fun.
That'd be cool.
And we will not be live streaming on my channel on Monday at noon Pacific time as we usually do. So hopefully we'll be seeing some more live streams on Gary's channel.
Okay, we'll see how it goes.
So
And
guys,
I
go
think we
ahead.
need to congratulate Gary for his first live stream.
Well,
You
thank
did
That's right, Gary,
great.
great
It's
job.
a lot of fun. I don't know how much time we spent, but it seemed like
Almost
it
an
flew by.
hour.
Oh, just over an hour, but there's
Wow.
so much going on here, and then we had, you know, a reboot of our Wi-Fi thing, and so Gary, you did a really good job.
Yeah,
Good job,
great
man.
job.
Thanks.
All right.
So we can go back and watch the chat later. It'll be fun
Yeah,
to see
we'll do it.
all the comments that we missed.
All right, you got to show me how to shut it off.
Okay, well, we'll do that. So guys, I want to thank you again for hanging out with us today. It's been a ton of fun,
Yes.
and we'll hopefully be doing more of this in the future. Have a great
Yay.
4th of July weekend for our U.S. friends.
Thanks
All right,
for watching.
guys.
Bye,
Talk to you
all of
later.
Gary's followers. Bye,
Bye-bye.
all Pelican followers. Bye.
Click the X there, Gear.
It's hard to see. Goodbye.